Well, what have we here? This is a nice, creamy, rich, delectable cold spinach dip. It's got spinach, there are leeks, we've got some water chestnuts for some crunch. This is an ideal snack for at home, for hosting parties, for on the go. It travels incredibly easy, and it could not be simpler to make. Come along for the ride. Hey now, we have some company coming over today, and lately I have been craving some awesome spinach dip. So it is time to make one of my favorite party snacks ever. Now, this is a cold spinach dip. It's not a hot one with cream cheese and stuff like that in it that you wind up baking and it's all melty and whatever. This is cold and just an amazing dip, super creamy, amazingly delicious. It has everything I love in it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, this was originally my mother-in-law's recipe, so please don't let her know that I'm sharing this with the world. But we have adapted it a little bit just to sort of match with our preferences around here. Pretty simple to make. Let's get to it. Now, the first ingredient in this here is just some frozen chopped spinach. I've got a 300 gram container of that. I'm gonna have the full recipe in the video description as well. Now, because I have a whole bunch of people coming over here, I'm actually going to double this recipe. I'll put the just original single recipe in the video description. So we got 2 packages of that. I wanna thaw this out here, so I'm just gonna fill this up with water here, let it soak for a while until it is all thawed, and we'll take it from there. I just filled this up with some warm water here. I started off with warm, definitely not hot because I'm not actually trying to cook this spinach at all and really change its texture. I've just got it warm because, of course, these frozen blocks of spinach are going to cool it down quite a bit. This is the longest part of the operation simply because we're waiting for it to thaw, but of course, it's really easy. And once all of your spinach is thawed, you want to find a way to sort of wring it out. I usually just like to take little handfuls of it and just squeeze it out over top of a colander or a sieve or something like that. Get as much of the water out as possible, because if you don't, you're going to wind up with a more watery spinach dip, which is not what we are after. So I'll just try to squeeze it as much as possible and collect it. I also like to take it and just run it through like so. Let most of this water drain out, and then I can grab handfuls of it here and again, squeeze it out. Now that is the most tedious part of the process, is just trying to hand wring all this out. I haven't figured out an easier way to do that. You can't really use a salad spinner or anything, just because I think too much of the spinach would wind up working its way out. But now I've got this all sort of fluffed up and separated here. I'm going to let it sort of air dry a little bit further as I prep the rest of the ingredients. For that, I'm going to use a couple cans here of these sliced water chestnuts. You want the sliced ones, they're just a little bit easier to work with. Of course, with the regular recipe, it would just be a single can of those. Just open this up and drain out the water. Now for me, the water chestnuts here are the secret ingredient to this recipe. While they don't offer a ton of flavor, they give a whole texture aspect to this. You get a nice crunch out of them that is really my favorite part of this recipe. So I'm just gonna get these all nicely chopped up. This is how I like them chopped up here. They're large enough that when you actually are eating the spinach dip, you can tell that there's little chunks of something in here, and it gives you a delicious little crunch, but they're not so large as making you sit there and having to like work your way through and chomp them up. Okay, so I've got those in my bowl. Now, as far as actually adding some nice flavor here to our spinach dip, I like some cream of leek dry soup mix. Again, because I'm going with the double recipe, I'm going to use 2. Just dump the entirety of the contents of the package in there. Now, as far as the actual base of this spinach dip, the cream factor, I like a 1-to-1 ratio of just a 14% milk fat sour cream, just your standard sour cream, as well as mayonnaise. Blending them together, you get a really nice rich creaminess, and it's fantastic. Now you can really decide what you want your ratio of creaminess to the other ingredients in here, what that would be. Now with my standard recipe, I typically go about a cup each of these ingredients. However, that's really up to you, how much you want that to be. I'm going to probably add approximately 2 cups each of that mayonnaise and my sour cream. By the way, this is what happens when you send your 20-year-old to the grocery store saying, hey, grab a 1 kilogram, which is probably roughly volume-wise just under a liter, of sour cream, you know, that big one. And she comes home with a 4-liter freaking tub of what am I gonna do with all this? So anyway, we're gonna add a bunch of the sour cream here. I'm just eyeballing it here. I'm not super worried about measuring any of this out. I'm just going to do that. I'll do an initial mix to get some of that leek soup and the water chestnuts up into the sour cream and mayo blend. I like using this rubber scraper here for this part. And now I would say we are ready for our spinach, because of course it is a spinach dip. So let's get all of that into here. And again, mix it up. I find that sort of pulling it open, kind of fluffing up the spinach after you drain it is integral, because if you just have it in big handful, like compressed clumps when you toss it in here, you're going to wind up spending some time trying to like break it up and get it more evenly distributed throughout the dip. Just give it a really thorough mixing. There you are. Once you add some of that sour cream and mayo, and in fact, if you're doing this for the first time, I would go maybe a little bit lighter than you think you might want. Take a look at what this looks like, have a taste, and decide if you want to add more. It's impossible to take it away once you've added it. That's why I like to start a little bit on the low end. Either way, I'm really happy with that. Now, while I could just leave it in that bowl for mixing, because we are doing this for guests tonight, I am going to transfer this into a bowl that might present just a little bit better. Oh yeah, I'm going to be greasy about this and just eat a spoonful of it. Hold on. Hear that crunch? Those water chestnuts? I absolutely love this. It's such a range of flavors and textures. You've got that sort of earthy, smooth spinach in there. The frozen stuff is nice because it is really quite soft once it's in this dip. You've got the crunch of those water chestnuts, and they're also, because they're lighter flavored and you do have little chunks of them, you do get just sort of like, it just sort of uplifts it a little bit and brightens it up just a wee bit. You've got the creaminess coming out of the mayonnaise and the sour cream, and of course the pungency there with that leek soup mix. It's just the perfect blend, the perfect snack. Now for serving this, I like to use sourdough. Now while I make my own sourdough, I actually prefer to go and buy store-bought, like grocery store sourdough, not real sourdough, but I find it's just sort of like a little bit softer and what have you, and just sort of chopping it up into chunks here. This is a fantastic recipe. It's very simple, few ingredients, just a little bit of wait time while you need to get that spinach thawed out, and then a little bit of tedium trying to sit there and make sure that that spinach is as dry as possible once you get it in. But after that point, bam, 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 you're done. Your spinach dip is ready to go, ready to serve. You don't need to wait to serve it. You can just toss it in the fridge until you're good to go, or eat it immediately. You're not worried about those flavors melding or anything like that. In fact, I think it's best as soon as you make it. It's just fantastic. And of course, if you're a fan of the bread bowl, you could certainly take your sourdough, hollow it out, and load it up with that. I mean, it might be controversial to say, but I prefer it outside of a bread bowl, because I find with the bread bowl, sometimes, especially for preparing it early in the day and having it at night or something like that, it might be a little bit soggier than I like. And I like that bread still just to be a little bit firm. There's also a little bit of versatility with it, deciding what you want that ratio of the sour cream mayo blend to be with the other ingredients there. There really is no wrong answer. Either way, give it a whirl. When you do, please let me know what you think about it. And until next time, keep your snacks at 11.